The party's leadership was criticized for promoting negative selection, rewarding loyalty over competence, and leaving many capable politicians sidelined. Don't judge me for my pronunciation. Let me just put my laptop on charge. Let me just plug in my laptop. What are you going to do tomorrow? Nothing beyond what I'm already doing. Don't wear that. It's too crumpled. She snorted when I told her the joke, then tried to pretend she hadn't. He hugged the warm blanket and hummed happily. I can't sit on the couch because there's a spring sticking out, and it pokes me. When we break out of this loop, things should get a lot easier. It's like playing whack-a-mole. We need to stop patching symptoms and redesign the whole module. Your fly is open. Zip it up. I can't seem to wrap my mind around this one little thing. That's what I'm not sure about. It might have been moved to 4 p.m. When I told him my idea, he just twirled his finger at his temple. We should board up our windows before the zombies break in. I want to renounce my citizenship and become solely a U.S. citizen. I want to give up my citizenship to take on U.S.'s citizenship. Hey, I just need to grab my laundry from the washer. I'll be back in a sec. I just need to take my laundry out of the washer. I'll be right back. The political party suffered greatly from negative selection as the most competent leaders were pushed out by mediocre loyalists. We need to overhaul our hiring process to avoid negative selection and ensure we attract the best talent. Negative selection in that department means that anyone who suggests an innovative idea is quickly silenced. The collapse of the empire was accelerated by decades of negative selection within its military ranks. In toxic work environments, negative selection often results in the worst managers rising to the top. Don't judge him for being nervous during his very first public speech. I hope you don't judge me for leaving the party early because I was so exhausted. Please don't judge her for the mistakes she made before she had enough experience. Don't judge them for choosing to live in a tiny house instead of a large mansion. You really shouldn't judge people for the type of music they enjoy listening to in their free time. I need to put my phone on charge because the battery is completely dead. Did you remember to put your wireless earbuds on charge before we left the house? I always put my laptop on charge right before I go to sleep so it is ready for work the next day. She had to put the portable speaker on charge because it stopped playing music halfway through the picnic. Let me just put the tablet on charge before we start watching the movie. Remember to plug in the toaster before you try to make your breakfast. I had to crawl under the desk to plug in the new monitor for my computer. She tried to plug in the vacuum cleaner, but the cord wouldn't reach the hallway outlet. We need to plug in the space heater because it is freezing in this basement. He forgot to plug in his guitar amplifier, so the audience couldn't hear the first song. I have no special plans for the summer. Really nothing beyond what we usually do at the lake. The mechanic found nothing beyond what we already suspected was wrong with the engine. She asked for additional help, but I can offer nothing beyond what the manual explicitly states. The audit revealed nothing beyond what was already disclosed in the quarterly financial reports. He expects nothing beyond what is legally required of him by his employment contract. He pulled a crumpled $20 bill from his pocket to pay for the coffee. The letter was found crumpled in the bottom of the wastebasket. Her favorite silk shirt looked terribly crumpled after being stuffed into the suitcase. The front bumper of the car was completely crumpled after hitting the concrete barrier. I tried to smooth out the crumpled receipt so the scanner could read the barcode. She snorted in disbelief when her brother claimed he could cook a gourmet meal the other day. The wild horse snorted loudly and stamped its hooves against the dry dirt. He snorted with laughter so hard that he nearly spilled his drink all over the table. The old man simply snorted when I suggested we use a smartphone map instead of his paper one. When I asked if the boss was going to give us a raise, My coworker just snorted and walked away. She hummed a quiet lullaby to help the baby fall asleep in her arms. The refrigerator in the empty kitchen hummed steadily throughout the night. He closed his eyes and hummed along to his favorite jazz record. The massive server racks hummed loudly in the cold, air-conditioned room. The little boy hummed happily as he built a giant tower out of colorful blocks. We had to throw out the old couch because there was a sharp spring sticking out of the cushion. Be careful sitting on the edge of that mattress. It has a broken spring sticking out near my back. He tore his favorite pair of jeans on a rusty spring sticking out of the antique chair. I couldn't get comfortable all night because I could feel a small spring sticking out near my back. The mechanic warned us about a metal spring sticking out near the car's suspension system. We keep having the exact same argument, and we really need to break out of this loop. We need to break out of this loop. The protagonist in the time travel movie had to figure out how to break out of this loop to save the city. To improve your mental health, you must consciously try to break out of this loop of negative self-talk. The software engineer had to force the program to crash in order to break out of this loop. They realized their business model was failing and decided to break out of this loop by pivoting to a new market. The doctors told him he had to address his diet and stop patching symptoms with daily antacids. If we want a stable network, we need to rewrite the back-end architecture and stop patching symptoms. The consultant advised the CEO to stop patching symptoms and finally resolve the toxic company culture. We must tackle the root cause of urban poverty and stop patching symptoms with temporary charity programs. The mechanics urged the city to fix the road properly and stop patching symptoms by just filling the potholes. I was incredibly embarrassed when the waiter leaned in and whispered that my fly is open. He rushed out of the bathroom so quickly, he didn't even realize his fly is open. You might want to turn your camera off for a second because your fly is open. A random stranger tapped my shoulder on the subway to let me know my fly is open. The comedian made a self-deprecating joke when an audience member shouted that his fly is open. I understand the main theory perfectly, but I can't seem to wrap my mind around this one little thing about quantum entanglement. We have the whole schedule planned out, yet I can't seem to wrap my mind around this one little thing regarding the transportation. The instructions are mostly straightforward, but I can't seem to wrap my mind around this one little thing in step 7. I agree with her overall message, but I just can't seem to wrap my mind around this one little thing she mentioned at the end. The math problem is almost solved, but I can't seem to wrap my mind around this one little thing with the negative fractions. I know the venue is booked, but what I'm not sure about is the final catering menu. We have the budget approved, but what I'm not sure about is the timeline for the actual launch. The recipe sounds delicious, but what I'm not sure about is whether we have enough fresh basil. I agree we should adopt a pet, but what I'm not sure about is if we have enough space for a large dog. He confirmed his attendance, but what I'm not sure about is if he is bringing a +1. When the politician suggested blowing up the hurricane, the meteorologist just twirled his finger at his temple. I asked my dad if we should hike through the thunderstorm, and he simply twirled his finger at his temple. Watching the reckless driver speed through the red light, the pedestrian twirled his finger at his temple. He didn't say a word when I pitched my ridiculous invention. He just twirled his finger at his temple. The coach twirled his finger at his temple after the referee made that completely illogical call. The shop owners rushed to board up their windows before the massive hurricane made landfall. The city ordered the contractor to board up the abandoned factory to keep trespassers out. We had to board up the broken glass door until the repair company could come the next morning. They decided to board up their beach house early this year because of the severe storm warnings. Residents were advised to board up their properties and evacuate immediately due to the approaching wildfire. The king was forced to renounce his throne after the successful popular revolution. She had to formally renounce her former citizenship before becoming a citizen of Japan. The controversial leader refused to renounce violence, causing the peace talks to fail completely. He was pressured by the media to publicly renounce the offensive comments he made on the podcast. In order to join the monastic order, the young man had to renounce all of his worldly possessions. I would never want to give up my citizenship, even if I chose to live abroad for the rest of my life. The billionaire decided to give up his citizenship to avoid paying massive taxes in his home country. She realized she would have to give up her citizenship if she accepted the government position overseas. It was a very difficult and emotional process for him to legally give up his citizenship. The immigration lawyer explained all the permanent consequences if I chose to give up my citizenship. Let me just run downstairs and grab my laundry from the washer before the clothes get wrinkled. I need to grab my laundry from the washer so my roommate can use the machine. I was about to grab my laundry from the washer when the power suddenly went out in the building. Can you wait 1 second while I grab my laundry from the washer? I always grab my laundry from the washer immediately so the fabric doesn't start smelling damp. I need to take my laundry out of the dryer before the buzzer wakes up the baby. Please remind me to take my laundry out of the basket and actually fold it while we watch TV. He went to the basement to take his laundry out of the communal washing machine. If I don't take my laundry out of the washer right now, someone else will just throw it on the table. I was too lazy to take my laundry out of the hamper, so I just wore the same jeans I wore yesterday.